man rely on his heart if it constantly bleeds out evil longings? According to the writers, William Shakespeare, C.S. Lewis, and the philosopher Plato, they conclude that man cannot put his faith in his heart because it is wicked and it seeks wickedness. Therefore, man's heart cannot be trusted because it desires evil longings that will never truly satisfy man. Shakespeare Macbeth exhibits a reason why man should not trust his heart. That reason being his mind fills with guilt instead of satisfaction when he accomplishes his heart's dark longings. For example, when Macbeth does act on his heart's black and deep desires to become king, it lures him into a pit full of bloody regrets. Consequences follow man when he conforms to his heart's natural yearnings to commit immoral doings. The act may seem satisfying within the moment, yes, but the guilt that follows it will never be worth it. Macbeth experiences this firsthand even after he achieves his heart's longings. He states, "The gracious Duncan I have murdered, put rancors in the vessels of my peace." With the use of this metaphor, put rancors in the vessels of my peace, it can be seen that Macbeth is not satisfied with his success because he regrets how he used homicide in order to achieve his goals. In fact, he compares Duncan's murder to be like a bitter poison that has corrupted his peace. His peace is intoxicated, and it is caused from him trusting his own heart. Therefore, if man trusts his heart and follows his heart, it will result in dissatisfaction, and dissatisfaction comes from guilt, and his guilt comes from acting on his heart's corruption. Furthermore, C.S. Lewis's work, The Great Divorce, explains how man's heart is naturally corrupt and will corrupt things that are naturally pure. C.S. Lewis exposes this specifically through one of his characters, Pam, whose life is devoted to mourning her son's death. Now, it may seem like a harmless desire to live a life in remembrance of a loved one who has passed away. That is, until it's taken to the extreme. Pam's so-called motherly love for her dead child is described as uncontrolled and fierce and monomaniac. Through the repetition of conjunctions, Polycitizen helps enhance how Pam's love for her dead child is no longer a genuine feeling, but rather an obsession. It is the only thing that she focuses on in life, and in turn she neglects all that is good and fulfilling, simply because she lets her heart turn the love of her son into an idol. One of the solid people puts it like this: "No natural feelings are high or low, holy or unholy within themselves. There are only holy when God's hand is in the rein. They all go bad when they step out on their own and make themselves into false gods." Pam's love for her child was meant to be shared and guided by God. Unfortunately, as it can be seen, Pam never allows God to lead her affections. Rather, she allows her heart to lead her affections. By letting her heart take the reign of her life, she contaminates the love for her dead child by turning it into a false god. To summarize, man's heart will never lead him into purity, rather a life filled with unfulfillment and corruptness, just like Pam's. Another example of why man's heart is untrustworthy can be seen through the allegory of the cave by Plato. It demonstrates how the heart yearns for known imprisonment versus unknown freedom. Through this story, Plato shows his anthropological view of how man is a being whose heart is content with his own lack of knowledge and wisdom. Plato describes this, that even when true knowledge is presented to man, he turns and flees back to which he is capable of looking at, and draws the deluded conclusion that before wisdom was in fact clearer than what was shown to him. Man's heart would rather live in the darkness of ignorance than be exposed to the light of painful truths. The less man knows, the less contradictions there are to his heart's doctrine. Therefore, man's heart is willing to sacrifice a life of wisdom in order to live a life of comfort and familiarity, and will run away from light when it is presented to him because it is a threat to his ignorance. His heart deceives him into thinking that there are more benefits in remaining blind than to become and able to see. In conclusion, man should not trust his wicked heart because its desires will lead man into a life full of condemnation and obsession and ignorance, but never a life full of purpose and meaning and completion.